What if the power to change your entire life, your love, your purpose, your joy, your connection to the divine, has been hidden inside you all along, buried beneath guilt, silence, and shame? There is a truth so close, so deeply a part of you, that it often goes unnoticed. It lives within your breath, your body, your desires, your dreams. It's not something you have to go out and find. It's something waiting to be remembered. This power is not dangerous in itself, but it has been feared and hidden for centuries. Not because it harms, but because it awakens. Because it brings human beings face to face with the truth of their own divine nature. This is the power known by many names. Some call it Kundalini. Others speak of it as the serpent energy or the life force. But more than any label, it is the fire that gives birth to creation. It is the energy that stirs inside every human being, waiting to rise. There is a secret path, ancient and sacred, that only a few have walked fully. It has been passed down in symbols, in whispered teachings, in hidden rituals from the temples of Egypt to the monasteries of Tibet, from tantric texts to Hermetic scrolls. This path is called sexual alchemy. It is the art of taking the most primal, raw, instinctive energy we carry, our sexual energy, and transforming it into a higher force. Not suppressing it, not denying it, but guiding it, lifting it, refining it, using it to create, to heal, to awaken, to rise. So why was this sacred energy covered in fear? Why was the body, once honored as a living temple, turned into a source of shame? Why did the purest form of life energy become something we were told to hide, avoid, or feel guilty about? The answer lies in the truth that this energy, when truly understood, sets a person free. And freedom has always been threatening to those who seek control. When a person knows how to awaken and guide their own energy, they no longer need to be led by others. They no longer need to look outside for permission, validation, or power. They become their own temple, their own teacher, their own source of light. The ancients understood this. In the temples of Isis, in tantric rituals, in the teachings of Dionysus and Hermes, they did not separate the erotic from the spiritual. They knew that sexuality was not something to repress. It was something to respect, to protect, to understand deeply. They saw the body as sacred, desire as a doorway. The sexual act was not just physical. It was symbolic. It mirrored the union of opposites, the merging of masculine and feminine, the joining of spirit and matter. It was a path to transcendence. But as time passed, this knowledge was hidden. Systems of power, religious, political, social, knew that to control people, they had to cut them off from their own source. They taught people to feel ashamed of their own pleasure. They called desire a sin. They made the body an enemy. And slowly, the sacred fire that was meant to rise through the spine like light began to fall, to scatter, to burn out. People were taught to fear their own power. And yet, the spark never died. That sacred fire still lives inside you. It waits silently, like a coiled serpent at the base of your spine. It is not gone. It is only asleep. And now, more than ever, it longs to rise, not through more outer stimulation, but through inner awareness, not through indulgence or repression, but through remembering how to work with it, how to honor it, how to turn fire into light. This is where sexual alchemy begins, in the simple, quiet decision to stop being afraid of your own energy, to stop running from your own desire. It begins when you choose to understand, not suppress, to lift, not waste, to awaken, not numb. The ancient Egyptians called it resurrection, but not the rising of the dead. It was the rising of the living, the rising of energy within the body, from the lower centers, upward to the heart, the mind, the crown of the head. This rising transformed raw desire into wisdom, pleasure into power, instinct into intuition, need into vision. This was not metaphor. It was a living practice, a sacred science. Breathing, awareness, energy movement, presence. Taoist master Mantak Chia teaches that the body is a living universe, with invisible rivers of energy flowing through it. These channels connect our sexual center to every other part of our being. And when we guide that energy upward, when we breathe it into the brain, the heart, the spirit, it becomes something more. It becomes the fuel for our highest potential. Tantric teachings call this sublimation. The energy rises like a flame through the spine, moving from one chakra to the next. Each level it passes through is like a door opening, a light turning on. From survival to safety, from desire to love, from power to compassion, and finally to divine awareness. This is the journey of Kundalini, the serpent fire rising not to destroy, but to awaken. But this journey is not quick. It is not a trick or a shortcut. It is a sacred path. It takes time, attention, and love. You must walk it gently. You must be patient. But with every step, you grow. With every step, you become more yourself, more whole, more free. Western psychoanalyst Wilhelm Reich also saw what others feared to speak. He believed that much of our suffering comes from how we handle our sexual energy. When it is repressed or misused, it creates inner conflict, confusion, emotional pain. But there is a third way, not denial, and not indulgence. Integration. He believed this life force could be stored, refined, used not just for sex, but for creativity, healing, joy. It is energy that wants to rise, not to be lost, but to be transformed. This is the truth of sexual alchemy. You do not have to reject your desire. You do not have to fear your body. You do not have to live in guilt. You only need to understand. When you guide your energy with awareness, it becomes light. Imagine a dam holding back water. If the water is released without direction, it floods and destroys. But when channeled through turbines, that same water creates power. It lights cities. Your desire is that water. Your awareness is the turbine. Together, they create energy that can heal your life. That's why ancient teachings spoke of alchemical chastity, not as celibacy, but as consciousness. You can live a full, loving sexual life and still transmute energy. It is not about avoiding pleasure. It is about infusing pleasure with presence, making love an act of worship, turning the body into a sanctuary, letting each union be sacred, intentional, alive. This is not about control. It's about connection, real connection with yourself, with your partner, with the divine inside you. As energy rises through the chakras, it purifies, it awakens, it brings you home to yourself. This is the path of fire. Yes, but fire that warms, not burns. Fire that guides, not destroys. The ancient alchemists spoke of the secret fire, the flame that does not consume, but transforms. That fire is within you. It is your birthright. It is not a curse. It is not shame. It is power. It is light. And when you learn to keep it burning with love and purpose, you no longer chase the divine outside you. You become it. This is sexual alchemy. This is the return to the sacred. This is remembering that your desire is not your enemy, that your body is not a prison, that your fire is not sin. It is the bridge between the human and the divine. It is not something to fear. It is something to set free. And once awakened, it does not just change your energy, it changes your life. There is something very special that happens when a person learns how to change the way they use their energy, especially the powerful energy that comes from deep desire. This desire can feel like fire inside the body, something that pushes us, pulls us, distracts us, or sometimes even consumes us. Most people spend their lives chasing things outside of themselves, trying to satisfy that fire. They look for love, attention, excitement, or success, thinking those things will make the burning stop. But the truth is, no matter how much you chase, the fire doesn't go away. It just keeps asking for more. But something incredible happens when instead of reaching outward, a person turns that fire inward. They stop trying to use their energy to grab things from the outside world and instead use that same fire to build something strong, glowing, and steady inside themselves. When someone does this, their energy begins to change. That fire doesn't disappear. It becomes something far more powerful. It becomes magnetism. It becomes an invisible force that draws people in. A quiet power that can't always be explained, but is always felt. There's no need to speak loudly, to try hard, or to convince others. This kind of person doesn't have to beg for love, or run after attention, or prove their worth. They don't manipulate or chase. They simply are. And in just being, they attract. Not because they are trying to, but because they have become someone that life itself responds to. The desire that once reached out now shines from within. It becomes a light, and the world becomes like a mirror, reflecting that light back with love, with opportunity, with connection, with blessing. The change is real, and it's powerful. This is what it means to transform desire into something higher. The desire doesn't die. It rises. It becomes creative energy. It becomes personal power. It becomes presence. It becomes the very energy that gives birth to new realities. But this power can be dangerous if the heart is not pure. The old spiritual teachers always warned that great power without a clean heart can lead to destruction. When the fire grows, it can warm and light everything around it, but it can also burn everything down if it's not used wisely. That's why the first step is always to purify the heart, to look inside and remove fear, bitterness, envy, greed, or pride. Because the more power a person has, the more they are responsible for the energy they give to the world. If love is in the heart, the power will bless. But if darkness is in the heart, the power will harm. So before building the fire, the soul must be made clean. This process is not about controlling others. It's not about tricks or manipulation. It's not a game of making others fall at your feet. It's about becoming the kind of person who is so deeply whole, so steady, so alive with love and purpose, that the world around you begins to shift. The fire that used to be scattered now becomes focused. The energy that once leaked out in every direction now begins to build up inside like a strong, steady current. When a person learns how to hold this energy and not waste it, they become like a magnet. And this magnetism is not fake or imagined. It is real. It happens in the body, in the emotions, in the spirit. Some spiritual teachers, like Manly P. Hall, said that when a person truly transforms themselves, their energy field becomes bright and alive. It becomes so strong that other people feel it even if nothing is said. The person walks into a room, and without speaking, others notice them, not because of how they look, but because of how they feel. There is a quiet strength in them, a glow, a pull. This is not something you can put on like clothes. This is something that is built from within, something earned through deep self-worth and spiritual growth. Even science has begun to understand this. Research shows that the human heart creates a powerful electromagnetic field far stronger than the one from the brain. The HeartMath Institute has done studies that show our hearts send out signals that can be felt by other people. One study, called The Electricity of Touch, showed that the energy from our hearts can be measured in people standing nearby. This means that our energy doesn't stop at the edge of our skin. It moves outward. It touches the space around us. It touches other people. We are always sending and receiving energy, even if we don't realize it. But the ancient mystics already knew this. They said that when a person lifts their sexual energy, when they don't waste it, but transform it, it strengthens their aura, the invisible field around the body. The aura becomes brighter, thicker, more magnetic. The person starts to radiate energy like a sun, silently calling in people, events, and situations that match their inner state. It's not magic in the way most people think of magic. It's not about casting spells. It's about the natural result of living in deep alignment with your highest self. In Taoist tradition, this is called magnetic virtue. It is the natural attraction that comes when someone is truly living in harmony with life. In Hermetic teachings, it is connected to the astral light, a spiritual field that carries all thoughts, emotions, and desires. When sexual energy is lifted and poured into this field, it begins to shape what happens next. It starts bending the path of life to match what lives inside your heart. Carl Jung, the great thinker and psychologist, once said that eros, what many think of as sexual energy, is actually much more than that. He said it is the psychic force that connects everything. It moves between people. It draws things together. It's the force that builds love, creativity, connection, and meaning. It is always working, quietly tying together the invisible strings that link people, ideas, events, and emotions. And this is where the deep truth lies. The more you try to chase what you want, the more it slips away. But the more you build yourself from the inside, the more life comes to you. True attraction is not about trying hard. It's not about games. It's not about wearing a mask. It's about being so full of light, so full of life, so full of purpose, that everything around you begins to move toward you. That's why the ancient teachers of sexual alchemy, those who learned how to transform desire, were described as glowing, magnetic, and unforgettable. It wasn't because of their physical beauty. It was because of the strength and clarity of their energy. Their bodies, hearts, and spirits were all in alignment. They were whole, and wholeness is powerful. Wholeness attracts everything it needs. It doesn't chase. It doesn't beg. It doesn't try. It simply is. This kind of energy doesn't just draw love or attention. It brings ideas. It brings abundance. It brings creative breakthroughs, spiritual awakening, courage, and insight. Because energy that is not lost becomes something more. If it's not wasted on shallow pleasure, it becomes a force for invention, vision, and deep inner power. A clear example is Nikola Tesla. He was one of the most brilliant minds the world has ever known. Some say he stayed away from physical relationships, not because of guilt or shame, but because he understood that his creative energy came from the same place as his desire. He used that energy to fuel his mind, to build his visions, to connect with deeper truths. He didn't waste it. He turned it into genius. But today, you don't have to choose between love and energy. You don't have to be celibate to be powerful. What matters is awareness. What matters is intention. You can experience love, pleasure, and connection without losing your center. You can enjoy your body while still holding your power. It's not about running from desire. It's about rising above it, staying awake, being present in both body and soul, not letting the moment carry you away like a leaf in the wind, not becoming a machine that just reacts, but staying rooted, staying conscious, staying whole. The true waste is not in the desire itself. The true waste is when we let our energy slip away without meaning, when we live without direction, when we seek pleasure just to escape, when we forget who we are. That's when the energy drains us. That's when we feel lost. But when we use our energy with care, when we honor it, when we give it purpose, it lifts us up. It heals. It builds. It becomes our strength. When you transform this energy, it begins to move in new ways. It becomes soft, yet strong, light, yet powerful. Like ripples in water, it moves out into the world and touches everything. And those ripples return. What you give, you receive. But the energy you send is not just words or ideas. It's life force. It's real. And that gives it weight. That gives it strength. That's why spiritual traditions always warned, do not raise your energy without first cleansing your heart. Because whatever is inside will grow. If you carry pain, the energy will grow that pain. If you carry love, the energy will grow that love. Energy makes everything bigger. So first, become who you really want to be. Then let the power rise. This magnetism is not a trick. It's not a secret to get whatever you want. It's a way of being. It's the result of inner truth. The outside world responds to your vibration. It matches your energy. It reflects your heart. When your inner mirror is clear, the world reflects beauty back to you. When your inner fire is warm and steady, life gathers around it like people around a flame. We do not attract what we ask for. We attract what we are. We attract from the depth of our energy. And when we raise that energy with love, awareness, and intention, life begins to shift. This is the deepest work a person can do, not to change the outside, but to become someone new inside, to shine so brightly that the world begins to change just by being near you. This kind of magnetism cannot be faked. It cannot be sold. It cannot be taught in words. It flows from the soul of the person who has done the work. And when that energy reaches the world responds with awe, with softness, with gifts. Because at the heart of everything, the universe turns and dances around the one who has become a sun,